Locker Room, with all the sports news you need. Live.
Hello, very good. I guess it's very good and very good afternoon to you, and welcome to the Locker Room. It's been a long season, that's why I'm getting night away afternoon. You're watching the Locker Room on Independence Live with myself and my co-host for the last time this season, but of course we'll be back soon. Graham Duffy, how's it going, Graham?
I'm all right. I'm not too bad for a Sunday afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well.
And we were just comparing weather forecasts there before we come on there. But I think it's the same everywhere in Scotland. Wet. But of course, they're a good band. Anyway, we're here until 5. No, we're not. We're here until 4 o'clock. Getting carried away again. Because this is our shortened show. Trying to say that with a Tiffin upside down on a Sunday. Of course, it was the second leg of the Premiership playoffs today between Ross County and Raith Rovers. And Ross County 4, Raith Rovers 0. They won 6-1 on aggregate, and it was never in doubt that Ross County, they weren't on top form today, but they got the job done. I must say well done to the Ross County fans, Graham, because I know that me and you spoke before we come on there, and it was a brilliant support getting up at Dingwall at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, I thought Raith fans were great. What was it, 2,500? I thought they were absolutely fantastic today. Even at 4-0 down, when the crowd shot cut to them, they were still singing. You know, fair play to them. It's a long way back to It's a long way back to Kirkcaldy. They can be proud of their team over the 2 legs, but they just came up short. But it was a brilliant support.
Where Rangers robbed yesterday, I think you're watching the wrong programme, but we might touch upon that before the end of the show. Of course, the Reagan and Alaska was on after the show yesterday. They've done a brilliant job. If you haven't saw that show, it's available out there on the Independence Live YouTube. Don't forget, you can comment on anything me and Graham saying. You can comment on Facebook and Twitter, X as well. And we're here until 4 o'clock. So, yeah, I mean, it's actually where Graham, like, Raith Rovers Skipper Championship team, and Ross County is still a Premiership team as well.
Yeah, and I thought, we said on Thursday the first goal today was going to be crucial, and Ross County got it. But I actually thought Raith started quite well. You know, they started a lot better, played on the front foot, got the ball down. They weren't playing as many long balls as on Thursday. But then Simon Murray gets that goal. And after that, you kind of think, well, that's probably done now, because it's an early goal, 13th minute, I think it was. I mean, 23 goals this season for Simon Murray and a team that's been fighting relegation. I think it's a pretty good record, to be fair. First half, I didn't think County were great. I thought Raith was a better team, but, you know, the start of that second half, they get that second goal from Jordan White, and it's basically game over. You know, there's no chance Raith are coming back into the game. And then they get the other 2 goals later on. So, I mean, like I said, they were clinical in the Ross County. I don't think they were brilliant, but they were clinical. And obviously on the back of that as well, I think it came out just after the game that Roy McGregor basically said that Don Cowy's now got the job permanently, which is fair enough. I think he probably deserves it. He's done quite well. Taking over from Derek Adams was going to be probably easier, because Derek Adams just made an absolute mockery of it. So fair play to Don Cowy. You know, he's going to get the job, and I'm sure that Ross, the Ross County fan that we have on, he'll be hoping that Ross County are not in that position again, because that's 2 seasons running they've been in that playoff place, and they don't want to be back there again next season.
It's really a bit weird, Graham, like, when you watch the game the first half. I thought Raith Rovers started well, without causing too much of a leg long goals. I got out the ball, but when you see that the game on Thursday night, Raith Rovers were Ross County, as I say, was far better team.
Yeah, you could kind of see the difference in quality. Certainly second half today with the quality that Ross County showed. But first leg, I said at the time, I was disappointed with Raith Rovers. I don't think they did enough. It was too many long balls. They didn't get the ball on the ground to play the way they used to play or have played all season. But today they did that, especially first half. But that first goal was so crucial. And unfortunately for them, it's a decent cross, but they don't defend it well enough. And Simon Murray does get the goal in the end. But Raith Rovers actually played quite well for most of that game, but didn't have that kind of cutting edge up top. And it's just second half, Ross County showed their ruthlessness up front. Simon Murray, like I said, for a guy that's been in relegation trouble this season, for him to get 23 goals this season for Ross County, I think it's fantastic. Jan Danda, who's coming to Hearts, delighted to see that. Again, he didn't play brilliantly today, but he's made the second goal with, again, a great delivery. So Ross County in the end did show their quality, but I feel a bit sorry for Raith because 6-1 on aggregate does seem very harsh. But that's just the quality of the Ross County have shown in the end.
Yeah, going back to Ross County, Simon Murray showed why the Ross County paid the big money from it in the transfer window. Was it 2 seasons ago, Grim? That because I remember doing that show, the transfer window show that we had, and I was saying on that show that would be the difference of Ross County staying up that season, albeit they made the playoffs. But it just showed you the quality of Simon Murray because he loves the playoffs, and they came up with 2 massive goals today.
He does, but I don't think he want to keep on doing that every season, though.
No,
I'm sure there'll be at least a couple of clubs looking at him. I guess 32. There will be other clubs looking at him to try and take him out of that relegation playoff. I've seen a few Aberdeen fans saying on Twitter that they should maybe try and sign him. I mean, if they lose Majowski, would Simon Murray be a good replacement? I'm not sure. But at that level, he's shown that he can score goals. And he was the difference today. I didn't think he was great on Thursday, and that was mentioned before the game as well today, that he didn't have a great influence on Thursday. But when it's mattered most in the second leg, he's turned up and he's kept Raith Rovers up. And in the end, it's been a lot more comfortable than I think I thought it was going to be. Because I genuinely thought Raith Rovers actually played quite well today for most of that game. But they've just not been able to, get over the line. So it's a shame. I'm disappointed for Raith, but fair play to County.
Yeah, I'm just keeping across the cup final as well, Grim. You'll be annoyed to find out that Rangers are 1-1 in the Women's Cup final against Hearts. And just as I say, the Women's Cup final, no offence, but here Reagan coming on as well. How are you, Reagan?
All right, guys, how we doing? No, I just thought I had the laptop near me. I thought I would pop on and see how you guys are doing. It was a great show yesterday, and thanks for everybody that tuned in. That was great to be on. Obviously, Celtic won yesterday, so it was good as well. But no, it's great to see you guys.
Yeah, no, it was a brilliant show, Reagan, on YouTube. And as I said to people, they can watch it again as well with you and Alaska as well. So, yeah, what was your thoughts on the game today, Reagan? Obviously, Ross County survived again in the Premiership.
I thought Ross County really showed their class, Michael. I thought in terms of Raith Rovers, I mean, they gave it a good go, Michael, but you've got to say, like, Ross County's SPFL know-how definitely got showed in that game, you know what I mean? I felt like they, especially at the top of the park with somebody that Graham's going to get to know very well, Danda, Jordan White, Simon Murray as well. So they've got a really good strike force, Ross County. And they were kind of my second team about a couple of years ago. Remember, a man called Regan finished top goal scorer at the top of the SPFL scoring charts. So that kind of made me feel good as well. So, no, I'm just... I feel a bit for Raith Rovers. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. I mean, do you think that this is a big factor going into the playoff final? The fact that Raith Rovers have played 4 matches to get here, and then they get there and then they're kind of tired, because that's something that put in my mind. See if they just did a one-off match, I think it'd be a lot more easier than doing all these playoffs with it, 4 different teams in it, especially with the playoff final as well. See the way they're doing it down in England, just a one-off game. I think it might benefit rather than just a two-legged, because I think it plays in the hands of the Premiership team.
I don't know, Graham, I don't know about you, but I think Reagan's psychic, because I was going to mention that as well, right? Because obviously when you watch the final, you're expecting the final to be at maybe 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But it didn't really feel like a final today because it was so early.
No, I said it on Thursday. 12 o'clock kickoff for that was just daft. They're asking Raith Rovers fans to go up there, which they did in the numbers. But for a 12 o'clock kickoff for a playoff final, is just crazy. And, you've talked about earlier on, Michael, about the fact that they should have a one-off game. And I think that should be the way to go forward. They probably won't do it. And I think I said on Thursday as well, it's only 3 times that our championship teams come up via playoff. So that, it just goes to show it doesn't happen very often. But I think a one-off game would be much better. Neutral venue, one-off occasion, playing 2 legs. I said on Thursday, the second leg always benefits the Premiership team, and it always will. So, yeah, I think a one-off occasion would have been a lot better. But a 12 o'clock kickoff today was daft.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, no.
And another thing I wanted to ask you guys about was the fact that if you're Raith Rovers supporters, I mean the 12 o'clock thing as well, I get it because Sky have got the playoff game down in England, which makes millions to talk about. It's the biggest money spinner in British football, and obviously for the Championship to the Premier League, I think it's something like 200 million. But I just feel like we need to make Scottish football a bit more of a showpiece. I said it to Alistair yesterday. The fact that the St Johnstone and Motherwell game wasn't on the TV as well, I think it's another year, Michael. It should be the subject, but it's another year that Sky have not took up the correct number of matches. They could have easily had been able to broadcast that match last week.
And am I right in saying, Glenn, that this is the first game Sky has done where it's not involved Celtic or Rangers?
They did do. There was a Hibs Hearts.
Yeah,
game
they did.
Yeah.
But they also showed a Motherwell game against whoever it was when the derby Derby was on. I can't remember who it was, but they showed Motherwell.
Oh no, Motherwell and Livingston. That's who it was.
That was.
Aye, yeah. But I suppose that we can touch on that subject later on, because me and Graham both speaking about a televised game that's not on as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean that St Johnstone Ross County game should have been not the second last game, but the last game, and it should have been on Sky as well. But I mean, what would this do to Raith Rovers, Reagan? Because we've seen it with like Arbroath, we've seen it with Packet Thistle, albeit they make the semi-finals, but like the Fools, basically what you would say is the Fools has came off the Arbroath bus as well. Do you think it would do the same to Raith Rovers as well, putting all that effort in?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because if you're Ian Murray, I think Ian Murray's probably a perfect candidate for Malky at Easter Road this summer. If you look at him,
that's what I said, Keith Graham, yeah.
A Scottish-based manager, he's doing his best. It'll just be interesting to see if they actually agree that he's going to do a rebuild, because it's very difficult for these guys. Like you said, they'll be Arbroath had a very good season, and then they weren't able to replicate it. So it will be interesting because they'll get some very good players. Raith Rovers. I mean, is it Dylan Easton that plays up front? That guy scored a lot of goals. He played for Airdrie, he played for for Kilty Hearts as well, under Barry Ferguson, no less. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting for them to see if Ian Murray stays around, and it will be interesting to see if they back him at Raith Rovers. But I know they've got players, they've got ambitious owners as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the only up point you would say, Graham, is like if Raith Rovers and don't. I mean, I hope Ross doesn't say what's this program, but like if because we both said on Thursday night that Raith Rovers, it would be good to get them up, but in a way, like I had a few text messages after the game because I have got one or two pals, and they were saying that I'm glad that Ross Raith Rovers never come up because that would be the top league in Scotland to have plastic parks, and that's very good for the game in Scotland.
I think I said it on Thursday that Raith Rovers Park's one of the better plastic pitches, to be honest. It's far better than Kilmarnock and Livingston. So I wouldn't have an issue with that. But I just think that now, if you look at the Championship next season, it's going to be really competitive. Raith will be up there again. Guarantee that. Partick will be there, Dunfermline, Falkirk, Hamilton, Livingston, as we all know as well. The Championship next season is going to be even harder. But Ross Kent have done well to keep themselves up. But how many times can you do it, though? 2 seasons in a row. They're going to lose Jan Danda, as we know. They might lose Simon Murray. They could lose a few more players. So, I'm sure that Ross will be thinking, well, we can't be in that position again. Now, Don Cowie's got the job permanently. Fair play to him. But they're going to have to strengthen in the summer. So they're not in that position again. But I think they could be. I think they really could be in trouble again.
Does anybody know that? Does anybody know in the comments as well? But see if the team stays up, do you get extra money for that? Huh?
I think you probably do. There probably is a prize bonus somewhere.
Yeah, and I suppose you would get the TV money as well, right? But Regan, I know that we harp on about Simon Murray as well, but speak to us about Jordan White, because I mean he scored twice today, and he's a forgotten man sometimes, because when we talk about Ross County, we always speak about Simon Murray and Danda and stuff like that, but we hardly mention Jordan White, and he's been a crucial part this season, and today coming up with the 2 goals.
Yeah, he's been brilliant, Michael. He's been really good. I think in terms of Jordan White, I think he's one of those guys who's probably I think he's 30 now, and he probably understands his place, and probably one of those guys that's very ideal to have it in the squad. So I think he showed his quality through the season, and he's always a pain in the backside, Michael, for Celtic and Rangers as well, because he's a physical kind of specimen, and these are the kind of players that you want around your team. And like you said, he scored again today, so he showed his quality so much this season. But yeah, I think for Jordan White, I think he's a local boy, and he'll just be happy that they've stayed up. But I think the point Graham made about Don Cowie, I think he's done really well about going in there, because if you look at the mess that he had to deal with after Derek Adams left, I mean, Derek Adams was very good the first time. I know Ross wanted Derek Adams back, but it just seemed as if Derek Adams didn't want to be back, Graham. It just seemed as if he as soon as he got back, he didn't have the appetite for the job. I think I'm right in saying that. I mean, it just didn't look as if he was up for it or wanting to be there from the off. And I'm glad to see Don Cowie's kind of brought that reassurance for them, and like that win against Rangers really saved them from the drop, because they would have been in big trouble at that point. You know what I mean? They would have been in big trouble. So they got a win against Rangers, and obviously they got a draw against Stephen Naismith's side as well. So I think Don Kiwi's went in there and done a very good job, and I think he should be happy with the job that he done. And I think it's interesting because they showed you on the Sky cameras Roy McGregor, and I think he's always capable of backing his managers, guys. So it's going to be interesting for Ross County. But like Graham says, I think Simon Murray is somebody that will be attracting attention. Because no disrespect to Ross County, but I think he'd be good at somewhere like Aberdeen. Because I'm looking at Aberdeen at the moment, and I'm thinking to myself, he probably could fit in well. And I think the fact they'll probably lose Majowski as well, because Majowski's 24. Aberdeen will probably want to get as much money in as they can. So I think in general, he'll just be looking to try and build a very good squad for the Ross County fans to be proud of for next season, because they've got 2 seasons now back to back that they've been in the playoff places. So I think that'll be a big thing for Don Kiwi next season, is to make sure that they're not in those bottom 2 places.
I think if you look at County as well, they should have been out of there before anyway, because they played St Johnstone a week ago or 2 weeks ago. They were 1-0 up with a minute to go.
Yeah.
If they'd won that game, they'd have got themselves out of that and put St Johnstone right in it. And they didn't manage to win the game, and you're thinking they could have got themselves out of that. Now I do wonder, and Alistair, if you're watching this, I do wonder if St Johnstone were in this playoff, if it were a completely different game. Because Raith probably would have fancied beating St Johnstone over 2 legs, because St Johnstone, as we know, have really struggled. So you do wonder if that had been St Johnstone over those 2 legs, it might have been a different game.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, and I suppose that, do you think that, I know that we were talking about Ross County there, but do you think that Raith Rovers will strengthen in the summer, basically could come right back up, but not be in the position of the playoffs next season?
Yeah, they absolutely will. But the problem is, how much they're going to have to spend. Who can they bring in? They might lose a few players. And there's also the question, and this was asked a couple of days ago as well, could Ian Murray potentially get the Hibs job? I don't think he will. I've said on Thursday, I think David Gray will get that job. The way it's looking with the sporting director there, I think David Gray will get that job. So I think Ian Murray will stay. And I think he'll want to try and, make that next step up to the Premier League. They've had a very good season, Raith Rovers. They've had a fantastic season. Today was just one of these games that County showed their clinical edge that unfortunately Raith just didn't have. But I've got no doubt Raith will be up there again next season. They've had a really, really good season. They were unlucky to finish second to Dundee United, because I thought for a long time they were going to win the league, but they just couldn't quite get it. But I think Raith will be back next season. They'll be stronger next season. But like I said earlier, there are so many teams in that championship this season that could potentially come up. I think the championship's going to be brilliant next season. I really do. And like I said previously, and I'll keep on saying it, I think Livingston could be down there for a while, because it's going to be very competitive.
Bad news for you, Graham. Half-time at Hampden Park, and I don't know if you're watching the final between Rangers and Hearts, and 1-0 to Rangers in the Women's Scottish Cup final. Rachel McLean, it's put Rangers ahead on the stroke of half-time. Just touching upon that women's final, Grim, how big achievement would it be for Hearts to win the first major trophy in the women's game?
It would be huge. I don't really think, even as an optimist, I don't really think any Hearts fan expects Hearts to win, because Rangers have won every game against us this season apart from one. So it was always going to be a big occasion today, but the crowd looks fantastic. It's taken a lot of support through there. Eva Ollard has done a brilliant job for Hearts. This is a no-pressure game, and she said the same thing herself. So I expected to just win that game. I just didn't want us to get hammered. So far, that's not happened. But if we could come back and win this, it would be probably one of the biggest results in our history. It's going to be a difficult 1-0 down against a really strong Rangers team, but you just never know. But the fact we got there in the first place is huge.
And we'll keep you right up to date with that. Of course, we're on until 4 o'clock today, not the usual 2 hours, because this is my last show, guys, before the end of the season. But anyway, we'll be back live from Germany. Haha, wishful thinking. Apart from Mr. Stevens, that's why he's got a wry smile on his face. And you can see what me and Graham's doing off camera at Reagan. But yeah, so Reagan, I was listening to Simon Murray's comments on Sky after the game.
Yep.
And he was saying that it's brilliant for us to stay in the Premiership, but we shouldn't be in this position. I mean, you know, I think that Ross County's quite lucky to have a player like Simon Murray in the team, not only because he's a good goal scorer and he scores a lot of goals, but young Danda is going away to Hearts now, so he's got to step up to the plate more for next season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know if Simon will be there either. I think that he'll be attracting a lot of interest, not only in Scotland, Michael, but down in England as well. I think if you look at his trajectory, the green side of Edinburgh, and then he went to Dundee United, and then Dundee, then he went to Queen's Park, so, and then Ross County, obviously. So I don't know if he's looking to try maybe down south now, or maybe, well, like I said, Aberdeen, because if he didn't play for the opposite end of Edinburgh, he's somebody that I think Naismith would be looking at, because he's a very good goal scorer. You know, I watched that game against Rangers, and I take nothing away from Ross County, but I think he single-handedly won them that match. The amount of pressure that he puts on centre backs and things like that, it's just great to see. And I think he's somebody that I'm sure Don Kelly's looking to build his squad around, because Ross County, as I said about 10 minutes ago, Ross County don't want to be in this position again. And I'm sure Don Kelly said that to the board, that if we want to do well in Scottish football, then you don't want to lose that you're very good players. So I'm sure overall Ross County are just looking for survival, but I'm sure Simon Murray is definitely a part of their squad for next season.
I know that we was by the way, don't worry, we're not planning to sell any players out from Ross County or Raith Rovers, right? But when we're talking about Simon Murray going to Hibs or whatever, and by the way, Reagan, I think he can do a job at the likes of Marvel and Kilmarnock as well. Because I feel as though Marvel has got lost that bit of edge well before. When Tony Hawkner left ages ago as well. I think that's why Marlow ended up in the bottom 6 as well. But from a Raith Rovers point of view, Grim, who would be the Premiership teams will be looking out for? Because we might take a punt on him for next season.
I think probably the guy Lewis Vaughan, if he can keep himself fit. We know I had that really bad injury, but I think he's somebody that could definitely play at a higher level. And we spoke about him on Thursday as well. I think Scott Brown, the captain, gives you something a bit different. He's got a bit of edge about him, which I think a lot of sides in the Premier League we're looking at. You know, he gets stuck in. He leads by example. I think probably him as well. So there's certain players in that Raith Rovers team I think will do a good job. Again, it's just that lack of a clinical edge, I think, up top. There's a couple of chances today, but didn't take them. And like I said, they started doing very well today. If they'd have taken the lead, I just wonder how different the game might have been. But they couldn't get themselves in front. The first goal was also good, crucial. And once Simon Murray gets it, pretty much done. And I think the same with Simon Murray as well. He is 32. He maybe doesn't have that many moves left in him. He might have one big move left. Where he goes, I genuinely don't know. Motherwell's not a bad shout, actually. He could do a decent job there, but whether he stays in Scotland or not, whoever gets him is going to be getting a very good player, because it's not just his goals, it's the overall work rate. He works really hard, he presses, he chases, and he does score goals. Like I said, 23 goals for a Ross County side this season that's been struggling against relegation. I think it's fantastic. And a lot of teams will be looking at that thinking, we could take a punt on this guy, and he will score goals.
I think the only way that it would stay in the Premiership, Reagan, is, and I'm going to get a lot of hate mail saying, no, we want Simon Murray to stay. I'm not saying that, but I'm just surmising, as I always do. But I think if he stays at like Murrow, if he goes to go away to a top 6 club or even a bottom 6 club, Reagan, no disrespect to Ross County, but I think he'll be on a bit more money than he's getting at the moment at Ross County. Oops, Reagan's on mute.
I think he would, Michael, but I think also, as I said earlier, Roy McGregor pays players a lot of money as well, because I think it was Malky that said that basically that it's very hard to entice these players up to the
Highlands.
The Highlands of Scotland, so it's you have to entice them a little bit more and pay that a little bit extra, because as much as the Highlands is good for a day trip or a weekend, there's no much up there for people to enjoy. Obviously, if you're a hill walker and you enjoy all the sights and all that sort of stuff, then that would be something for you. But yeah, I think in terms of Simon Murray, I think somebody like a Kilmarnock, a Derek McInnes, who is a big admirer of Scottish football, he probably looks at him and goes, well, somebody like, let's just say, somebody like Frizzell, who's maybe in his late 30s, who's getting on now, he probably thinks to himself, who can I get in to improve the squad? And I think Simon Murray would definitely be somebody that he would look at and go, he's somebody that I can really trust. And but like I say, I don't want to be too disrespectful to Ross County fans, because I hope he is there for next season, because Don's done a good job since he's been there so far, and I think he'll be hoping to keep him.
I think going back to something that Reagan mentioned earlier, the difference between Derek Adams and Don Cowie is mental. You look at Derek Adams, he came back, he basically slagged the Scottish football, he slagged off everybody, he said that Morecambe was better, no Ross County player would get in the Morecambe side. He just had that kind of negative vibe about him. But the minute that Don Cowie came in, it's completely different. They've maybe not won a lot of games, they've been actually quite good at home. But every Don Cowie interview I've heard, he's always very positive, comes across really well. He doesn't slate Scottish football. I think he basically thinks he's lucky to be here. You can tell that he loves the job he's doing. So there's a massive, massive difference in Don Cowie and Derek Adams. What a difference it's been. And you can kind of sense that the Ross County players are actually playing for Don Cowie. I don't think they're playing for Derek Adams, and I've said it before, neither would I. If you're coming into my club and you're basically criticising everything we do, if I'm a player, I'm thinking, why am I going to play for you? I don't know what to play for you. But Don Cowie's brought a bit of fresh air about him. He's really, really positive. I like the way he talks. And it's just a massive, massive difference. And I think fair play to Roy McGregor, because I think he's got this appointment right. I think Don Cowie is a really good appointment. I think he'll do well. Again, I said earlier, without Jan Danda, it's going to be difficult if they lose Simon Murray as well, but they will strengthen him. But I just think Don Cowie comes across a really, really good guy, very knowledgeable, and what a difference to the way that Derek Adams came across. I'd rather play for Don Cowie than Derek Adams.
Well, were you surprised at the way that Raith Rovers kind of approached I would say the 2 games, but they had a wee spell in the first half before Ross County scored the goal. Were you surprised the way that they approached the game, especially at home? Because you would think, that they would go for that in front of that full house.
Yeah, I was surprised at the first leg. I thought they were very poor, and I said it at the time on Thursday. I thought they'd come out a lot better. They didn't play the way they played all season, getting the ball on the ground, getting the balls in behind. They went long far too often, and that was talked about before. So I was surprised at them for that. And they weren't, to be honest. Ross put it in the group chat for about 80 minutes. Ross counted the better side. And then that goal from Stanton looked like it really changed everything. And I said that they should have been going there with a draw because Josh Miller missed a great chance to make it 2-2. But today, I actually think Raith were playing some decent stuff in the first half, but they couldn't get that goal they needed. And obviously, once Simon Murray gets the opening goal, it's a long way back, needing to get 3 goals to win the game. But then the game's basically dead after half-time. As soon as Jordan White scores that goal, 46 minutes, the tie's over. But I thought Raith still tried to play some decent football, but I just think that first leg's where they let themselves down. You had that massive crowd at Starks Park, a really big occasion against a Ross County team that's been really struggling, especially from home, and they didn't do enough. So the first leg really surprised me. Today was a game they had to go for, and they did, but they just didn't have enough.
What do you think of Reagan's comments early on, Graham, about it's a bit unfair for Ross County to play one game in the playoffs, and Raith Rovers had about what was this a 6th game? And the 4th game actually in the playoffs as well. And people might be sick of me and you talking about it, but there you go, you're watching Sky today, right? And you're watching that game. And then it comes up with the playoff final between Leeds and Southampton. Now that's a one-off game, Graham, and I think that's at Wembley. Now I'm not saying for a minute Ross County and Raith Rovers could play at Hampden, because you could fill Hampden, maybe less of Hampden, but not Hampden. So it should be a one-off game as well. So do you think that they'll? I know it's SFA and they take a pounding off the media and Scottish football fans, but do you think that they'll review that for next season?
They should, but they won't. I think that game today could have easily been played at like Tannadice or McDermott Park, one-off occasion, get the fans in. They'd have got a decent attendance, I think, for that game. A one-off game's far better because it does benefit the Premiership side, and it always will, because the second leg's always at home. I just think when you've played as many games as Raith have, one-off game's probably going to be better. So yeah, I think they probably should look at it again and look at what the Championship in England's doing. One game, winner take all. They should do that here, but it's Scottish football. We know they won't do that because it's what we do. We always make things difficult for ourselves.
Reagan, what's your take on that? I know that you've not been on the show, but me and Graham spoke about it for the past 5 weeks, and probably people's getting sick of us talking about it. Don't worry, we'll get there one day. I don't know what day that will be, but what's your take?
Did you see people are getting sick of you?
Yeah. Well, people are sick of me going on about it.
Emails, Michael. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get off. Yeah, yes, get on. But what's your take on the whole kind of 2-leg affair, Graham? Reagan, do you think it's a one-off final?
Well, I heard you saying there about that the Southampton and Leeds game was played at Wembley. I would quite like it to be played at a neutral venue, because I just feel like if you're playing it over 2 legs at each stadium for each team, I just think it takes away the specialness of it. And like I know you're saying that Ross County and Raith Rovers, they wouldn't play at Hampden, but that's probably the only time that Jordan White and and Don Cowie and all of these players will be able to either manage or be at the ground. I'm sure if you're a Scottish Amateur player last week and you're watching the Scottish Amateur final, I don't think they're bothering about that there's only 10 people in a dog watching. I think they're just happy to be at the National Stadium, and and be able to savor that moment and go, I tell the grandkids that I've played at the National Stadium, and it's a big moment for me. And I think there's opportunities, as I said to Arthur, there's opportunities within our broadcasting, Neil Doncaster, that there's opportunities for him to make the product better, and it's little simple things where you could easily set up television channels. You could easily pay a subscription to whoever you want to listen to, and also other things like being able to interact with supporters as well. I just think there's simple little things that we could do a lot better. And the fact that if you're a St Johnstone supporter, that you're paying £30 to go and watch your team play against Rangers or Celtic, I think is a bit of a disgrace as well. I think that, and Graham will know as well, going to Celtic Park or going to Ibrox, you're over in a corner where you can't really see much of the match. And if we're going to say to a St Johnstone fan, you're going to pay £32 to go and watch your team play against Rangers or play against Celtic, but you'll be stuffed away over in a corner where you can't really see much. It's not appetising for the game. But if you said to someone, every ticket for 10 to 15 pounds, people will actually subscribe and they will be along to the match. I just think sometimes we overdo ourselves. And Neil Doncaster was on the radio the other week saying about that he feels like Scottish football's got more of a bargaining tool now that they've got more derbies in the SPFL. I think also the fact that that we've obviously got improving clubs that want to move as well. I mean, we spoke there about Ross County wanting to. We were talking about it being a one-off game. You look at East Kilbride in the lower league, Graham, they had to play 2 matches, but if you look at them as well, they finished top of the league, but then they have to play whoever. Like it was Bucky this season, but then Bucky weren't able to play in because they didn't match up to the SPFL rules. So there needs to be, I think there needs to be a shake-up of Scottish football. They were talking about it during COVID when folk got their emails mixed up in Dundee and stuff like that. And I think
Didn't they talk about that? Didn't they talk about that to me again, Dundee, man?
Yeah, don't start with that way, Graham. Yeah.
But I genuinely think, Michael and Graham, I think there should be a 14-team league or a 16-team league because people at East Kilbride who've worked so hard throughout the season, and now those guys are not able to go up, and now they're back in a league where they won by 20 points. You can tell that they're way ahead of the opposition because opposition like Stranraer or like some of the clubs in League Two, they're just happy to be there. And that's part of the problem as well that I've got with Scottish football is people at East Kilbride, they're able to back their manager and they're able to be ambitious. But you've obviously got clubs that are just happy to be there and happy to survive as a club. And I think there needs to be an approach to Scottish football that we say, right, well, what can we do from a broadcast structure to paying fans in the gate? Because I'm sure, Graham, I don't know how much it is for a Hearts ticket, but I'm sure if you said to a Hearts fan, right, we've remember, I think I had this chat with you guys last season when Aberdeen versus the Green Side of Edinburgh was £35, and both of them were in the top 6. And I'm saying, but they've got nothing to play for, and they're charging people £35 to go and watch Aberdeen play. And I just feel like sometimes we just need to open our eyes and say, over the past couple of years, people were locked away. We also had a cost of living crisis, Michael, where people struggled to afford to go to football. So there needs to be a reality as well.
Do you remember I don't know if it was last season before, but St Johnstone fans unhurled a banner that basically said 20 is plenty, like £20 is plenty, which I agree with. You are pricing people out of going to football. Like I've taken my lad at a few Hearts games this season, and I've taken him a few Pennycook games. Like for Pennycook, it's like £8 to get in, which is great. But like going to a Hearts game you're paying like maybe over 40 quid for 2 tickets, and it is expensive. It is really expensive. And I actually felt sorry for St Johnstone as well, right? Because they won the cup during COVID and they couldn't get the fans there. They actually managed to win a trophy and they can't celebrate it normally because you couldn't get fans in the stadium, which was obviously it was what it was at the time, but it was horrible for them. And I felt sorry for Bucky Thistle as well. They won the league, but yet couldn't have come up because they didn't comply. I just think, again, and I've spoken about it so many times as well about the TV deal, and I know we'll talk about it again, but the fact is, I say it every time we're on this, the fact that they don't have a designated TV channel for Championship highlights, League One highlights, and League Two highlights like they do in England is a joke. Now, it's great that they show the women's games. That's fantastic. Delighted with that. They show the Premiership games. That's fine. But the lower league teams, unless you go at a game, then you can't see your team. Why not have you've got BBC Scotland channel sitting right there. Why not have a highlights package for the Premier League on like the Saturday, keep it as it is. But even then on a Sunday, you have League One, League Two, Championship highlights, 7 o'clock till 8. But they don't do it. So you don't get to see the other leagues. I think it's a joke, and I've said that for so many times.
Yeah, and I think just touching on that, Graham, a broadcaster, I'm not going to mention them, but a broadcaster has got a brand new channel that's going to launch in September, and every single Championship match is going to be live next season. And I'm sitting thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, they're talking about the Championships. That's great. Like, of course it is, but it's because it's got so much money behind it. Because all the broadcasters are buying into it. I mean, I just feel like there needs to be somebody like but Barry Hearn that does the PDC darts and the snooker. I mean, what he's done for darts and snooker is incredible. Like, from watching the snooker. They're talking about snooker going over to Saudi Arabia now. I watched the boxing last night. Even the darts on Thursday night in front of 15,000 people in London's O2. And you're thinking to yourself, if people can watch darts in front of 15,000 people and people can enjoy it, surely we can make Scottish football into a product that people can enjoy.
I know that Reagan, that me and Graham and Alistair were saying a few weeks ago, and I'll hold my hands up here and say that the new owner of St Johnstone and the owner of Murrow and Hibs, I think it is, it's coming in. I don't know if I think it's a done deal with St Mirren, with St Johnstone. I'm not sure about Murrow and Hibs, American owners and stuff like that, right? And I always say, well, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. They're coming into the game because they don't know much about Scottish football. Maybe that's a bit unfair for me to say, but I mean, if you talk about the TV deal, Graham, I always think of the Dundee owner that there was a few games last season. He put on ESPN about 5 o'clock, where I think it was Dundee and Aberdeen. Now you would think TV companies over here would be a bit embarrassed by that, because they think, well, he's going over to America and they're showing you the games on ESPN. You would think like Sky would be a bit embarrassed of that because you know, and so I think owners like that coming into the game, you might be a bit iffy at the moment, but they're actually like thinking outside the box as well, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Flanagan. All right, Scott, hope you're well, mate. The Championship TV deal with the BBC is a joke. The teams don't like it. We have to share the money with the rest of the lower leagues, and the Friday nights the teams lose money. I mean, honestly, I keep on saying that there should be a dedicated highlights program for the Scottish Championship, League One and League Two, but they'll never do it. I mean, fair play to Sky. We criticise them a lot, but they have actually managed to show the last 2 playoff games, which is good. But I just think, you know, Reagan's right. The TV deal we get is horrendous, you know. And I said it last week as well. Be careful what you wish for, because I would love to know the reason why these American owners are coming in to Hibs, St Johnstone, Motherwell. There must be a reason for it. You know, they don't know who these teams are. And I said to say, I'll repeat it as well. I said the same about Romanoff at the time as well. Now, don't get me wrong. At times it was great, but at the start it was, and then they sacked Romanoff. But you've got to be aware of why these people are coming in. You know, they're doing it for a reason. Why are they coming to Motherwell or St Johnstone? It doesn't seem right to me that they're coming into these clubs. But that's the way it is.
I know, but like I'm starting to think, yeah, I mean, I think the same as you. Be careful for what you wish for, Graham. But I mean, I think it's a good thing for them to come into Scottish football and experience how it's not right for, you know, TV companies just to pick Celtic and Rangers as well, whether it's away games or home games. But also for, I don't know if you had my point, Reagan, that Aberdeen was playing sort of Dundee Aberdeen last season. And I think they've done that with with Aberdeen and Dundee. They make it 5:30 kickoff. But you would think TV companies would be a bit embarrassed because the owner of Dundee sold the rights to that game to ESPN in America. Like, I was away, you know, and then you've got Sky sitting there, and you know that they're not really too fussed about it, you know.
I think there needs a bit of joined up thinking. I mean, you look at this season, Michael. I don't know if you're aware, but Amazon Prime have took they've took the rights of the Champions League, so they get first pick of any Champions League match this season off of TNT Sports. So that just shows you that if Amazon Prime are doing that, then everything's moving digital. I mean, I'm still surprised at the 3 o'clock blackouts I find now, Graham, because you look at down in England. I mean, everybody watches the English matches at a touch of a button, you know. So if Amazon Prime are jumping on the bandwagon, surely I think in the next 5 years, you know, hopefully I'm still on this program to say to you guys, but I think in the next 5 years there probably will be a kind of Amazon Netflix kind of style where you can just choose what game you want to watch, you know, because all of this now that I mean, we had so many big matches this season that we missed out on. I mean, I look back to the Rangers game away at Rugby Park when Rangers got a last minute winner. You look back to Tynecastle 2 each when that game wasn't broadcast. There's so many matches that you think that surely if we're a serious nation, we need to think of a better way of doing it. I mean, I'm not of this idea that Stephen Craigan's it, that we need to do some football. I'm not with that idea because I like the idea of what we're doing right now, but I just think there needs to be a bit of joined up thinking in terms of the broadcaster because we want to showcase the matches as much as possible, and there needs to be choice, Michael, because as much as people might not want to watch Arbroath against Airdrie every week, but somebody might, and I'm sure that the Airdrie fans will want to subscribe to that. And there needs to be a choice that if you don't want to go to the match, you can surely pay a tenner and watch it. You know, because the club will still be generating money anyway.
Well, I mean, you know, yeah. And by the way, I know you were saying about the derbies that season. I'll put on a bet with you here and now, right? And you can play it back to me if I'm wrong that season, but I bet you they'll show the 4 Old Firm games. That's a given, right? But they're only going to show one of the Dundee and League Hearts and Hibs games. They won't show you all the games. But I would prefer to watch all the derby games as well, Graham. But that's the way they work it.
Well, they only showed one Edinburgh derby last season. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, listen, the games might not be brilliant, and I'll admit that as a Hearts fan, some of the games not been great, but it's an Edinburgh derby. I'd still rather watch that than, no disrespect, Motherwell St Johnstone. I mean, it's just you've got big derbies coming up next season. You've got 3 big derbies coming up in Scotland. And you're right, they will only show Celtic against Rangers. And I get it.
And play devil's advocate, Graham. It's probably some of the club's fault as well. The fact that they voted in this TV deal.
And by the way, Graham, don't forget that game they showed you at Easter Road. They just used it as a kind of like Mickey Mouse kind of charity game because they were going to put cameras on the Hibs manager and all that. I mean, have you ever saw a Liverpool Everton game saying, "Oh yeah, we'll make up the manager and all that"? They just create Scottish football a tin pot league at times as well. I know Scott
said that at the time. Don't make up the managers, make up the referees. That would be the fun way to go. I mean, what was making up Nick Montgomery going to do? And I would have loved to heard it at the Lawrence Shankland scored that last minute goal. I'd have loved to hear Montgomery raging, but it didn't happen. But it was just like, what's the point? And it basically got scrapped about half an hour before they ended up saying, "No, we're not going to do it." I mean, that just shows how tin pot that is. But seriously, they should be showing all the derbies next season, the Glasgow ones, the Edinburgh ones, and the Dundee ones. That's what fans want to see, or I certainly would anyway. But again, they won't do
it. Scott saying on YouTube that the champion teams gets pennies for the TV deal. Yeah, I mean, correct, and so. But good before we finish up, guys. Let's talk about the Ross County game that we started with today. If you just tuned in, Ross County is still in the big time. They beat Raith Rovers 4-0 today, 6-1 on aggregate. Reagan. I know you weren't on in first night, Reagan, but and I know you're on today. But were you a bit disappointed about Raith Rovers over the 2 games?
Yeah, because I thought they were going to offer a little bit more, but I actually thought they'd be more interesting to see Partick Thistle because of the rivalry that they struck up last year. Ross County and Partick Thistle, you know, from being 3-0 behind. But yeah, I thought Raith Rovers would have offered a little bit more, especially because, like Graham was saying earlier, they've got Scott Brown, they've got Lewis Vaughan, they've got Dylan Easton, as we said earlier. They've got all these talented players, I feel, and I don't think they really showed their quality overall.
Still 1-0 to Rangers, by the way, Graham. Sort of disappointed in the Scottish Cup final against Hearts, but
yeah. And there's 1-0 to Southampton at half time.
Oh, and one-off game in the final. Sorry, I just had to get that one in, Graham. I feel a bit better. Right, somebody said to me about we've got a minute left. I don't know if we can fit this in. Were Rangers robbed yesterday, Graham?
Well, I didn't see the game because I was out all day yesterday, but I saw the brief highlights. I don't think they were. I think the push on Joe Hart, there was no need for Raskin really to push him. People say it's soft, and it probably is, but it's always going to get given. There was a potential penalty that Celtic could have had. Again, the handball rule, God knows what it is these days, because it probably isn't. But again, who knows what it is? But I don't think Rangers were robbed. And we've said it all season. Jack Butland's had a great season, and he makes one mistake, and he gets punished for it.
So we're out of time, guys. Thanks to everybody that's contributed this season. Thanks to the whole team, Reagan, Graham, Alaska, and the whole team as well. Stephen Raithig. I don't know where he went to, actually. He's still probably partying somewhere. And don't forget, we'll be back on Wednesday for the VER show. That's going to be quite interesting. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the Independence Live for details when that show is going to be. And we're going to be back for the Euro shows as well. Don't forget the Plazy show is on the 9th of June. So Reagan, enjoy Germany. I'm sure we'll speak to you when you come back and stuff like that. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Graham. Thanks to Reagan. And we'll do it all again next season here on The Locker Room.